So you run a nursing home. You know, the place your kids are gonna send you when you get too old and senile. Now on the surface, this might sound like a really bland, boring business.
It's really creepy in here. What is that very bad smell?
Why would anyone want to run a nursing home? But under the surface, it is actually a gold mine. Because think about it, in every other business, your customers can complain. If you abuse them, they can go to the police. They can sue you, they can report you to the FTC. But nursing homes? Your customers are the elderly, and you have full control over them.
Lots of shady shit goes down in nursing homes, Frank, okay? These places are like prisons.
You help or don't help them get out of bed? If they pee themselves, you get to choose whether or not to change their soiled clothes? You get to feed them prescription drugs? You get to control their access to the outside world, which means you can do whatever you want to them, and they won't be able to tell a soul about it. Which has led to some pretty dark things happening inside nursing homes. Unexplained bruises, open wounds, and other injuries all over the bodies of nursing home customers. Customers being left alone to sit in soiled clothes for hours. Customers spending all day crying out for help from their beds, only for their pleas to go unanswered. And when some customers try to fight back, you can simply tie them to their wheelchairs. When that doesn't work, you can just drug them with super strong medications that knock them out cold. These are just some of the things that have happened in one nursing home in New York. But the thing is, stuff like this is happening in nursing homes all over America.
Now, Alden is headquartered here in the city. They operate dozens of facilities, but 6 are named in this lawsuit.
Nobody there to help her. She died alone, struggling.
Horrific bed sores, devastating and often fatal flaws.
Why? Because money. Think about it. Most of these old people are on Medicare and Medicaid. They're barely surviving off of money from the government. They don't have any extra money to afford better living conditions, which means they can't afford to leave. Ah yes, they have no choice but to pay for your nursing home. No one else is gonna take them, and no one is gonna hear their cries. Stay dangerous, subscribe for more, and this is the evil industry of nursing homes. To make these videos, I have to be constantly reading books. But the problem is, books take a lot of time to read, and not all books are created equal. The way I think about it is that 20% of the books out there will give you 80% of the results. So your job is to shift through as many books as possible to get to that 20%. Take this book for example, The Bitcoin Standard. I wanted to read this for an upcoming video, but it's $18 and 300 pages. So instead of reading it right away, I first went through a summary of the book on an app called Shortform. I got to confirm that yes, this book is for me, and then I invested time into reading it. And it was all thanks to Shortform. Shortform offers the best book summaries out there on over 1,000 nonfiction books. I've used the other book summary apps out there in the past, but the problem is they're usually too surface level. Shortform, on the other hand, is way more comprehensive. They're so comprehensive that chances are the key insights you get from reading the actual book, you will find on Shortform. It's more of a book guide than a book summary, so I highly recommend giving Shortform a try, and if you use my link below right now, shortform.com/JakeTran, you'll get $50 off the annual subscription, which is over 3 months free. That means for the price of 1 book a month, you'll get access to thousands of Shortform book guides. Pause the video and go to shortform.com/JakeTran with the link below now. Thanks to Shortform for sponsoring this video. In the 1700s, when Europeans first colonized North America, they brought a lot of things with them. Disease, weapons, war, and a thing called almshouses. See, the thing is, we've been trying to figure out what to do with old people for centuries, and almshouses were the solution to that pesky problem back in the day. They were institutions run by government organizations to house anyone who couldn't be left alone or taken care of by their friends or family. But almshouses weren't just for the elderly. Anyone who society didn't want to deal with could be dumped there. Orphans, people with disabilities, the homeless, drug addicts, and residents were provided with a bed and meals. But the conditions at almshouses were depressing at best. Even though almshouses were the norm for over 100 years, over time people started thinking that maybe this wasn't the best place to send my parents or grandparents. Sure, it was fun to throw addicts and homeless people in there to forget they existed, but the elderly were different. They were more worthy of care. So that's when a new type of institution hit the scene: old age homes. Old age homes were established by different religious and ethnic organizations to take care of their people in their final years. There were German houses, Christian houses, and even homes for just widows and single women. These places were leaps and bounds more comfortable than almshouses, but with one major difference: old age homes charged a fee. And for a while, it seemed like this new system was working out. But then America got hit with the Great Depression. All of a sudden, people couldn't afford to pay for old age homes anymore, so they started flooding back into almshouses. There weren't enough beds to keep up. The conditions in almshouses were getting worse than ever before, and everyone was freaking out. There had to be a better way, Americans pleaded, and legislators agreed. So they came up with the perfect solution. Just have the government throw small amounts of money to old people. That way, they would be able to pay for things like old age homes. Enter Medicare and Medicaid. All of a sudden, the entire demographic of old people who were once broke were now worth billions of dollars. Billions of dollars that was guaranteed by the federal government. Every old person had a dollar sign over their heads now. A new market was made. And as an aspiring entrepreneur, if you wanted a cut of these billions, all you had to do was open up shop. Medicare and Medicaid was a goldmine for nursing home owners. It gave them the incentive to build more and more nursing homes, to take in as many residents as possible, because each one was another guaranteed paycheck from Big Daddy governments. By the 1970s, there were more nursing homes in the US than ever before, and their revenues had risen by 2,000%. 2,000%! So the only next logical step for these nursing home entrepreneurs? To create nursing home conglomerates. Why own one nursing home when you could own 2, 3, 4, 100 cash flowing assets? Remember, the Medicaid money is there. You just have to suck up as much of it as possible. Suddenly, the nursing home wasn't run by one family or a religious organization anymore. It was operated by a multi-billion-dollar company whose owners never stepped foot into the hundreds of nursing homes they owned. Not only did owning hundreds of nursing homes make them a lot of money, but it also made it way more difficult for the government to oversee what was happening inside these institutions. And as the profits and the quantity of nursing homes skyrocketed, the quality, well, it suffered. $1.2 million Americans are living in nursing homes right now as we speak, and 2/3 of those residents are paying for it with Medicaid. That sounds great, right? These elderly people don't have enough money to pay for it, so the government steps in to help. But there's one giant caveat to the system. People who are taking advantage of Medicaid are too poor to go anywhere else. Their only option is a Medicaid-funded nursing home. Nursing home owners know they have nowhere else to go to. And if your customers can't leave, why waste the money on improving their experience? What is the biggest expense of running a business? Labor, paying staff salaries. And nursing homes are no different. Nursing homes need staff to be working at the facility around the clock to care for the residents. With the average nursing home worker making over $18 an hour, that could quickly turn into thousands of dollars in expenses every day, even if you're employing only a small staff. So the solution is simple. Just never hire these people in the first place.
That's a huge, strong guy.
This is a person that worked there that knew terrible things were going on and wrote this email. This shows that I'm not the only person that this has happened to.
I'm confused because you're thinking, did I do that? Did I do that?
Yeah, that's stressful.
That's why I'm retiring. I don't want to die.
You want to employ as few people as humanly possible so that you can pocket millions. And your customers can't complain about it because they're too old, too poor, too sick to do anything about it. That is why stuff like this happens every day.
An 84-year-old grandmother struggles to breathe. At home, her daughter Marie had been told staff were checking her mom throughout the night. The breathing gets weaker and then stops.
Mom was gone. And I believe in all heart that the cause of her death was due to lack of experience, staffing not knowing what they're doing, training, not enough staff.
I have laid in my own bowel movement for hours. Don't ever put your loved one in here, ever.
I do not want to come back here. I don't care if I lose the clothes. I don't want to come back. I don't want to remember the memories of all the stuff I got here.
Imagine, if you will, a child daycare center in which a child is burned severely. Those kinds of cases get a lot of attention.
Yeah, there'd be outrage.
There's outrage. And typically, places are shut down and the individual's arrested. Nursing home world, exact same facts, but instead of a young child, an older adult. That's a citation.
Most nursing homes are neglected at best, and at worst, well, it's just a little bit too graphic to talk about on YouTube. Which is why you should click that join button below for our uncensored documentaries, by the way. And when people demand an answer for these abysmal conditions in your nursing homes, all you gotta do is scream from the top of your lungs, "We need more money!" Nursing home owners have been singing the same tune for decades. We don't have enough funding to do our job. The reason nursing homes are scary, abusive places is because the government isn't giving us enough money, even though nursing homes get over $50 billion every year from Medicaid alone. And if you look at their financial records, that story might seem convincing at first glance. A nursing home's tax records typically show that they're making very little profit. But the truth is that as a nursing home entrepreneur, you have perfected a system of creative accounting that allows you to hide millions in profits.
The nursing home industry would want you to believe that they need more money from the federal government and the state governments. That's not true. They are, in fact, making sizable profits, and they're making conscious decisions to understaff to increase their profit.
You see, most of these huge conglomerates don't just own nursing homes, they own land, buildings, medical supply companies, and all types of other contracted services. So when the nursing home pays rent, buys supplies, or hires workers to do maintenance, it's all going right back into the pockets of the owners.
And so that $200,000 goes onto their operating costs sheet.
Yes.
But that's actually money that they're just paying to themselves.
The nursing homes pay way over market prices for all this stuff. They then deduct it as an expense showing less profit, while the money just moves right into their other pocket.
Because you could see how they were using shell corporations to move money around. As an ex-prosecutor, I saw that and immediately thought, wow, that's very similar to how organized crime launders money.
That way, the less it looks like they're making, the more the nursing home industry can beg and plead for more money from taxpayers.
They have a financial incentive to make the facility look as unprofitable as possible. They were claiming $4.4 million to total expenses. Well, 1.4 of those was paid to themselves.
And this isn't just happening at a couple of nursing homes. This is how the nursing home business is run. It's the business model, and all of them are doing it.
And I thought at first, oh, it's just this one facility or this one chain. This is rampant. This is everywhere.
It's been accepted as the norm. Should it be? Absolutely not.
It's December 2022, and Moshe Kaut, the owner of Fulton Commons, is about to face a very rude awakening. His innocent little nursing home in Long Island has just been indicted, and the Attorney General himself is coming after him. Why? Because Moshe and his family have been committing fraud with their nursing home for more than 3 years, making over $16 million worth of government-funded money disappear by paying pretend salaries to his 8 adult children. Each one was getting paid almost $500,000 in 2020 for doing nothing as 1% stakeholders. Talk about a dream job. But while they were living the good life, all the terrifying things we talked about in the beginning of this video was happening to his 280 vulnerable senior residents. And now people are finally getting fed up.
With us and keep fighting until seniors get the dignity they deserve!
In New York, the governor passed a statewide law requiring nursing home facilities to have a minimum number of staff. But let's be honest, laws like this rarely make a difference, and they usually end up backfiring, or the industry would just find ways around it. The only real practical solution is learning how to make more money, so you don't have to let your parents suffer in a place like this. And if you're looking to get into business, there is a very important lesson in all of this. The nursing home industry solved the biggest expense in business, labor, by just not hiring any labor. Unfortunately for every other business out there, you can't just not hire labor. So the biggest corporations out there have figured out an alternative: modern-day slaves. Labor from poor countries that is so desperate, so cheap, so plentiful, that it's basically slavery, without the whips and chains. And if you look closely, you'll find that pretty much all of the Fortune 500 companies have figured out some way to leverage modern-day slaves. Because when you run the numbers, it's just not possible for a Nike, for example, to scale to the size if they made shoes with expensive Western labor. So if you're looking to get into business, This is a secret that you're gonna have to understand if you want to scale, that they're not gonna teach you anywhere else. Because you know, talking about modern day slaves isn't very politically correct, which is why I expose all of this in Financial Slavery Masterclass. 20 plus lessons all narrated by me in the same documentary style format you've come to love. Because I believe that education should be as entertaining as a Netflix series. And you can watch the first lesson for free right now with the link below. There's a 14-day no questions asked refund policy, just email us, and you can also earn around $100 for every person you refer to this masterclass as well. So scroll down, click the link below, and watch the first lesson for free right now.